there's problems that need to take place and be solved prior to AI being mainstream. And so there's a little bit of fear there where AI is right now only as good as the data that's feeding it. I think historically dealers have looked at data as they have garbage data or garbage in, garbage out, you hear a lot. And the reality, in my opinion, is that dealerships have more data or better data than a ton of businesses that operate outside of automotive. Without clean, standardized systems, AI will deliver currently the same garbage in and garbage out.
Hey everyone, welcome to the Leadership in the Dealership podcast, where we dive into the latest and greatest trends shaping the automotive world with insights from today's thought leaders. I'm your host, Daniel Mills Walden, and I am super excited for our discussion today with Zack Hendricks, who is the co-founder of Bolderstream. Zack, welcome to our show.
Thanks so much. Thanks for having me.
Just from looking into your background and your history, I've seen that you've been in the automotive industry for an extremely long time. I think well over maybe 20 plus years. Can you maybe walk our audience through how you got started in the industry and a little bit about yourself?
Gosh, good question. I think I'm like a lot of people who are in the car business and who have gotten into it by mistake and stayed because it's amazing and the community is fantastic and it's so big, but it's so tiny. I got my start, much like many others, working retail. And I guess I couldn't close the door with a spring on it. So I transitioned more to the technical side of the business, working on marketing and websites when websites first came out. And that transitioned me into working for a variety of providers in the space, ranging from CRM providers to working with tier one and OEMs, all the way into managing CDPs, and now the latest and greatest working on automations powered by AI for dealerships today.
Wow. I mean, you talked about going from the retail side to the OEM side to the all different things that you've done in your past. Can you maybe speak to like what was some of your favorite opportunities that you kind of had?
Gosh, well, the lightning in a bottle opportunities don't come around every day. And I think what I'm most excited about as of recently is the accessibility to technology. I think we're on the verge of seeing a lot of non technical founders or folks in the car business that have had great ideas, but have had challenges behind kind of that technical veil of now being able to bring some of those product solutions and ideas to market. And so I think there's no better time than now. So I'm most excited about what's going on today than I ever have been before. But of course, I've had some great opportunities and experiences along the way. You're working with a variety of the addressable market from manufacturers down to dealerships. And so I really lean into and trust those old relationships and experiences to shape what's going to happen now and in the future.
Yeah, I could totally see that because, with you working on so many different facets of the business, your perspective is so big and important. I'm curious from your perspective, how have you kind of seen the car buyer change? And, now that consumers can start the car buying process online, like, have you noticed a lot of strategies that have changed with this over the course of your experience?
Yeah, definitely. I think the most obvious one is how car buying has gone from kind of that weekend marathon event where consumers were in 4 to 6 dealerships over the course of the weekend, and dealerships really controlled the information that was put in front of them to now more of a DoorDash experience,
Mm.
right? So now everything is accessible and consumers want it fast. They, of course, want it frictionless and they want it tailored towards the preferences that they personally have. So whether we should probably blame that on the Amazon effect or TikTok's kind of 60-second attention span that we have in today's world, I think consumers today are arriving to the dealership now, or to the discussion at least, with more information than probably a Taylor Swift fan decoding an Easter egg in one of her music videos. So I think the smartest dealerships today are more than likely adapting by connecting all of the dots that exist across their systems and turning a lot of their data into their future decisions. So we're seeing this shift into the historical gut or intentional feel that dealers have historically had into a new data-driven approach. And I think if shoppers have been, for example, if shoppers have been eyeing like a specific SUV or car online, dealerships now have the opportunity to pick up where that browser session is leaving off.
Yeah, and that's super impactful that now dealers can do that, because in the past consumers were, a lot more walk-ins were happening. People were coming into the dealership, and now, dealers need to be armed with the type of technology that can help support the consumer now, that has everything at their fingertips and can do everything from the comfort of their home and from their phone. I'm curious from your standpoint, just, personal story about you. Like, when was the first time that you actually bought a car, maybe the new way? Or do you still, like, since you're in this industry and you have been in it so long, what does the car buying process look like for you today?
Oh, well, I'm jaded, right? I work in the business. I've got dealer friends, and so it's not typical for me to go through a natural car buying experience. I am also a car guy, so I go through cars consistently, and I always joke with my family about the amount of cars I've owned because I just love cars. But I think the last time, more than likely I could relate to that was helping friends buy cars, and so it's it's frustrating and it's also rewarding. So helping friends navigate the research and investigation stage into when they actually take a effort to become a known customer or prospect of dealerships. It's been fascinating to watch, and so I try to kind of not talk about some of the insider things that go on at dealerships and let them go through the natural car buying process. But gosh, is it difficult?
Sure.
My last car buying experience, I personally got pretty frustrated with the experience of searching for a new truck, and was walking through Target and decided to buy a Tesla and got it done in 15 minutes. Yeah, I think that saying that I bought a Tesla is probably not great for the dealer community, but might be also an opportunity for improvement in how car buying can actually work. So happy with the buying experience of a Tesla, but when you go and pick up the Tesla, not so much, right? So I think dealers have a incredible opportunity with the experience side, where they own that much more, much better than where Tesla currently is at.
Yeah, I mean, you speak about being in Target, being able to buy a Tesla from I'm sure, the palm of your hand from your phone, go through that process. You saw how recently Hyundai partnered with Amazon, and now Hyundais are now available for consumers to buy on Amazon. Do you see this as the beginning of what's to come? And to your point, like, what do you think dealers are going to need to do to be able to keep up with this and be able to service their customers when they come in, if consumers are going to start buying this way, direct to consumer, from things like Amazon?
Well, I think direct to consumer is a threat to the natural franchise business of automotive today. And I think where dealers have an opportunity is to, A, work closely with their local markets and community. Number one, the amount of dealers today that support their local communities is endless, right? They're the biggest the biggest contributor to local taxes. They support
Mhm.
local communities. So really communitizing the local markets without sacrificing the centralized, kind of out of the box type feel that you get when you buy a Tesla, is I think where they have a leg up. I think where direct to consumer, or what Hyundai is doing with Amazon, is a nice little cascade into what direct to consumer could look like. At the end of the day, in its current state, it's more a similar version of digital retailing, or optimizing the shopper experience versus the entire experience being completely done through Amazon.
Yeah, no, just seeing that happen, it's like, I know that this is coming, it's going to shift, but it's going to require a lot of process changes in general for it to be 100% successful. So I hope that the dealers stay tuned for what's to come there. But as far as, like, switching gears a little bit, when we look at AI, which I feel like has been like the biggest buzzword of 2024, um, some dealers have been embracing this, while others are very resistant and hesitant because of a myriad of different reasons and apprehensions. In your world, since you live in this day in and day out, what are some of the main reasons why dealers are fully hesitant to trust it? And what kind of advice do you give dealers when it comes to, if they're looking to make a change to implement AI in their stores?
Well, I think first and foremost, it's scary, and we're all consuming a little bit of fear right now. And AI right now feels a lot like you're kind of putting a rookie quarterback on the field during the playoffs. And so there's a little bit of hesitation, I'd say, from dealers to trust it, and the stakes are pretty high. So historically, like I mentioned previously, a lot of great dealers have relied on gut and intuition for decades, and so there's this fear that AI is going to come in and make a general commoditized decision where decades of experience would have done better. And so I think dealerships who have historically relied on instinct and gut actually have the biggest advantage of using AI in the future. Beyond that, probably complexity. AI right now is a lot again like the latest iPhone update. The photo app sucks, right? So
Hmm.
everyone knows that the update is needed and good, but no one wants to spend the time learning how to use the new features that it has. So I think many dealers are wondering today, will this technology be a will this technology integrate, or will it disrupt the flow of day to day? Is it really maybe like a help disguised as something else? But I think lastly, it's probably only good. There's problems that need to take place and be solved prior to AI being mainstream, and so there's a little bit of fear there, where AI is right now only as good as the data that's feeding it. And I think historically dealers have looked at data as they have garbage data or garbage in, garbage out. You hear a lot, and the reality, in my opinion, is that dealerships have more data or better data than a ton of businesses that operate outside of automotive. So an example of that is you don't have to give a basic five liner when you go to the store and buy bananas. So when you buy a car, there's a lot of data transfer that takes place. And I think that without clean, standardized systems, AI will deliver currently the same garbage in and garbage out. And so I think a good approach to that would be to treat AI probably like your kid today, which is you
Mm.
have to feed it good food and you have to take it to the doctor. And if you just give it general, very basic information, then that's the results that it will spit back out. And so, lastly, I think for AI and a lot of these automations to work, dealers need to take more control over owning their own data, normalizing it, making it actionable and deployable. Otherwise, AI is going to be kind of like this race car with no track to drive on.
Wow, you dropped a lot of amazing gems just right there. I want to take a step back. I think the best analogy I probably have heard in all the interviews that I've had is that it's comparable to the iPhone photos, because when that update happened, I spent maybe 10-15 minutes trying to find a specific picture. And to your point, maybe if there was more instruction or something that could maybe arm the consumer with like how this change is going to be happening, people would have been more receptive to it. Because now I'm finding that I see a lot of the benefits, but in the beginning I was so annoyed and so upset about it. So it's kind of like what you said, and I love that you said garbage in, garbage out when it comes to dealerships data. Would you advise that, like, if a dealer is interested in wanting to partner with an automation provider, an AI provider, that maybe the first step is to do some sort of like an audit of their data, or like what would you recommend? Because it sounds like if not, it's going to be a garbage in, garbage out situation.
Yeah, I think many dealers see that or think that they have bad data, and the reality is they have too much data. And
Mm,
so, being able to normalize and standardize that data is a great starting point for automations and AI to have more success. So, I think what a lot of dealers today are exploring is solutions like customer data platforms or alternatives. And the reality is, many dealers are cleaning their own data with their own data.
mm,
Many of their data exist in silos and behind walled gardens in many different places, and they have it all. But coming up with what the truth is amongst all of those nine different technology providers is a great starting point. So I think many dealers today, prior to investigating automations or AI, should start with owning their own data, taking control, over what the truth should look like, and then applying a value to that. So, meaning if we have 9 out of 10 uh, objects of customer data complete, then how much is that one customer worth to us over the period of time?
Okay, I like that. They definitely need to take that ownership with it. Would you recommend, like, let's say I'm a dealer, I'm in the Midwest, I'm kind of more old school, but I keep hearing everybody talk about AI, automation, it's a buzzword, and I don't know where to start. What would be an easy first step or a, a department maybe in my dealership that I could maybe take a first step to kind of maybe baby step my way into kind of making it for everything? Like, what would be a good plan of action there?
Baby step is the key word there.
Yeah.
So, I think a lot of people look at AI and it seems like it's going to solve these big projects, or you're going to turn it on and it's going to do something that you never would have imagined it could do. And the reality is, despite what you and I probably tell our significant others and our bosses, we are not drowning in project work. We are drowning in a death of 1,000 little knife cuts of the Slack messages, the LinkedIn messages, the Instagram, display, the constant reminders and notifications that we get every single day. And those knife cuts are killing us slowly. And so, focusing on those little knife cuts is a great place to start. And some of those little 15, 20, 30-minute, hour-long things that you do every single day is where AI can shine. So I would advise dealers to start with the very boring and mundane stuff that they're working on every single week that they think can or cannot be automated, and start offloading that to a clone of yourself, i.e., an AI agent that is completing those tasks. A good starting point for that are, that I work on every single day, are things like employee scheduling, where it
Mhm.
doesn't take that much time to do a schedule every single week, but the considerations of that schedule involve who can be available to work, what their historical performance might be with certain employees working at a certain time, compliance and safety issues around working too long or too many hours. So being able to automate things like employee schedules or compensation plans, or inventory allocation, that goes beyond just being able to respond to customers with AI generated text. So I would advise a dealer in the Midwest, or any dealer for that matter, to start with the boring stuff, because that's the stuff that is killing them right now. It's not the big projects.
Okay, I think that's some really, really good advice because dealers are they want to make these changes, but they are a little apprehensive. They're a little scared. So kind of baby stepping their way into it is definitely something that everybody can chew on kind of moving forward here. I'm curious from your perspective, as we look into 2025 and the year that is ahead of us, what would you say is kind of like the biggest untapped opportunity that dealers have heading into this big year? Like, where could they truly maximize across the board?
Well, big loaded question again, but I think the biggest untapped opportunity is right underneath the dealers' noses right now, which is again their own data. So 2025, much like 24, data is kind of the new oil, and I think instead of looking at like it's oil, or gas for that matter, it's more like crude oil, and it's only really valuable if it's refined, if it's organized, and if it's ready to make decisions for you. And so I think many dealers are sitting on these gold mines of insights, albeit through service history or purchase trends, website behavior. But many of that, again, lives inside of these disconnected systems. And so I think a good starting point or opportunity in 2025, included in AI and automations, is to start by standardizing and connecting their data. Dealerships can start to predict and use AI, facilitate consumers' needs, duplicate themselves, and first, and last but not least, improve things like fixed ops revenue, where they are potentially getting crushed right now by independents. Streamlining a lot of the operations and feel of their dealership and their communications that go out is another great opportunity and starting point. So I think beyond that, in looking at just data as a large, or at large. Fixed operations is going to be huge in 2025. I think we're looking at new car margins continue to shrink faster than probably like Hollywood budgets right now with AI.
Yeah.
So that service lane becomes your golden goose, and automating that service drive and being able to use AI to be a secondary advisor for you is a potential path to greater revenue, greater personalization, optimizing schedules of technicians or putting them on the right jobs. So 2025, I think for dealerships, I think the biggest opportunity again is for them to be able to see the future through connected data.
I love that. You spoke on so many different things. I'm going to put you on the spot here. You have to think maybe inside if there's somebody that comes to mind. But typically, what we like to do towards the end of every episode is to ask our guests if there is a specific dealer or dealer group that to you is really innovative or embodies a lot of the things that you kind of suggested or discussed over the course of this episode. And if so, to maybe call them out and give them kind of a shout out. So is there anybody that comes to mind to you that you'd want to call out as a dealer to recognize?
Gosh, I'll give you two because they're great dealers, and their approach is both unique. One is from my home state, which is California, so I got to give a nod out to DGDG up in San Francisco area, who is incredibly disciplined. So the way that they've looked at taking ownership of the life cycle value of each individual customer and applying that value, and understanding that if we get more of that, that our business will grow no matter what, has been incredibly thoughtful and progressive. But they do the boring stuff right. And so it's been fun to watch them, albeit not have a great personal relationship or know them quite well. I'm just an admirer of their stores and the way that they run their businesses. On the opposite side of the country would probably be what Kevin Fry is doing over with the Weiler Group. So being able to look at data and look at structured data and puzzle piece all of the technologies that he uses together and launch some of the industry first programs that Kevin has launched, it's admirable as well.
Oh, I love that. I love those two that you shouted out. I think that everybody can learn from these two dealer groups, and I appreciate you being able to think of them so easily. Thought I was going to stump you, but you had them like at the tip of your tongue, like they were right there for you.
I'm on their websites every day, and I'm sure that they see it on their CDPs or in their data too. So, yeah.
Okay, well, to kind of close things out, what would be like one bold prediction, one lasting memory that you'd like to leave everybody of what they can expect in 2025? Just kind of high level there.
Oh gosh, high level prediction for 2025. I think in 2025, we will see the death of probably what's now called micro SaaS. So a lot of the software providers that exist in every single vertical, but in automotive, it's definitely wide and rampant. But software providers that solve very small, unique problems, I think we will see a lot of AI and automation be built or built by dealers for pennies on the dollar compared to what they're paying today. And it will be built in their own language and in their own identification of what their needs are. So I think for 2025, there's a big opportunity for dealerships to take more control and start developing their own software applications through using AI and automations. So 2025 should be the maybe not it's the death of these micro SaaS providers, but maybe it's the birth of micro SaaS providers built by dealerships themselves.
Wow, I love that as a closing point. I think everybody listening is going to say, is there an opportunity for me to do that at my own dealership here? So I'm glad that you shared that. Zack, where can the audience get in touch with you or learn more about Bolderstream?
Several different places. They can find me on YouTube at Z Hendricks is my handle. Instagram, same handle. Connect with me on LinkedIn. Or you can find me at industry events like NADA, Digital Dealer, or 20 group meetings.
Awesome. Well, thank you, Zack, for all of the amazing advice that you gave today and the industry knowledge that you dropped. I know that this episode is going to impact a lot of different people listening and maybe open them up to the idea of AI and automation. So thank you so much for coming on.
Thanks for having me. I appreciate it.